Welcome back to Deadscape Diaries, where we explore the mysteries that lurk in the shadows of history. Tonight, on our Deep Dive Mythology series, we'll unravel one of Ireland's most chilling legends, the Banshee. A wailing spirit, said to herald death, the Banshee has been whispered about in hushed tones for centuries. But is she a vengeful ghost, or something more? Prepare yourself as we venture deep into the eerie folklore of this supernatural figure, and uncover the truth behind her haunting cry. The Banshee, a haunting figure from Irish folklore, has captivated imaginations for centuries. With her mournful wail and connection to death, she is one of the most chilling and iconic creatures in the realm of myth and legend. However, her tale is more complex than simply a wailing specter of doom. To understand the Banshee fully, we must explore her origins, the varied interpretations of her form, her connection to Irish families, and the broader cultural implications of the myth. The origins of the Banshee legend are deeply rooted in Irish history and mythology. The name Banshee translates to woman of the fairy mound or woman of the fairy realm. The fairy realm refers to the supernatural domain in Irish mythology, often depicted as otherworldly beings who live in mounds, hills, or underground chambers. The word woman refers to the Banshee as a female spirit linked to the realm of the fairies. The Banshee is believed to be a type of guardian spirit associated with specific families, particularly those of ancient Gaelic aristocracy. Her wail, which was often heard in the dead of night, is said to be an omen of death, forewarning family members of an impending death within their lineage. The belief in these spirits is ancient, with roots tracing back to Celtic traditions. These spirits were originally seen as keeners, women who would mourn the dead and publicly express sorrow through ritualistic wailing and crying at funerals. Interestingly, some accounts of the Banshee link her to the Morrigan, a figure in Irish mythology who embodies war, fate, and death. The Morrigan herself was often depicted as a crow or raven and was known to forewarn warriors of death on the battlefield. Some scholars speculate that the Banshee may have evolved from this mythological figure, absorbing aspects of her mournful, death-related qualities. The Banshee's appearance varies widely in different accounts, though certain themes and traits are consistent throughout the legend. While some stories describe her as a beautiful woman dressed in flowing white or silver garments, others depict her as an old, ragged crone with wild, disheveled hair, dressed in dark, tattered robes. Regardless of her appearance, the most important characteristic of the Banshee is her wail. Her cry, often described as an unearthly, blood-curdling shriek, can be heard echoing through the night, signaling that death is near. Some versions describe her wail as a keening sound, a loud, mournful cry that resembles the sound of a woman weeping. It is said that the closer the wail is heard, the nearer death comes. In some cases, the Banshee's cry is said to come in several different forms. A soft, sorrowful wail signals the death of an elderly person, while a high-pitched scream marks the death of a young person or a tragedy of greater magnitude. Some versions also suggest that the Banshee is accompanied by the voices of other spirits, who also mourn the impending death. The Banshee is often linked to certain family names, particularly old Gaelic clans. These families are said to be haunted by their Banshee, who has been assigned to forewarn them of death. Some of the most prominent families associated with the Banshee legend include the O'Neill, O'Briens, O'Connors, and O'Donnells, among others. In these families, it was believed that the Banshee's cry would be heard just before the death of a family member, alerting them to the impending tragedy. The Banshee's role in Irish society can be seen as one of mourning and death. In a culture where death was an important communal event, the Banshee was not seen as a purely malevolent being. While her wail could be unsettling, she was viewed as a spiritual guide, a messenger from the otherworld who communicated the news of death. Her presence served as a reminder of the deep connection between the living and the dead in Irish culture. In ancient Irish traditions, the concept of the otherworld was deeply ingrained in daily life. The Celts believed that the spirits of the dead continued to exist in a parallel realm, and that these spirits could interact with the living in various ways. The Banshee's cry, then, was understood not as a harbinger of doom, but as an announcement that a loved one was about to be taken to the afterlife. The wail of the Banshee could bring closure to the living, allowing them to prepare for the death of a family member and begin the mourning process. Furthermore, the Banshee was often associated with keening, the ritualized practice of mourning and lamenting the dead. Women known as keeners would be hired to wail at funerals, and their mournful songs would guide the deceased's spirit to the afterlife. The Banshee's wail could be seen as an extension of this practice, though she was not always present at funerals. Instead, her presence often predated death, serving as a warning. Over the centuries, the Banshee has evolved and adapted to modern interpretations. In contemporary times, she is often viewed as a ghostly, vengeful spirit in popular culture, depicted as a dangerous force tied to tragedy and death. Movies, television shows, and books have embraced the image of the Banshee as a supernatural entity that brings death and terror, with her wail serving as a sign of impending doom. In contrast to her more sympathetic and mournful role in folklore, the modern Banshee is frequently portrayed as an evil, malicious entity that targets individuals. This darker interpretation diverges significantly from the Banshee of Irish mythology, who was considered more of a spiritual figure rather than an active agent of destruction. Nevertheless, despite these modern adaptations, the core elements of the Banshee legend remain intact. Her wail continues to be a central symbol of death and the connection between the living and the afterlife. The Banshee, as a figure in Irish folklore, is a complex symbol that encompasses both fear and reverence. She is a reminder of the inevitability of death, but also a connection to the spiritual world, allowing the living to prepare for the passing of loved ones. Her wail serves as both a mournful lament and a call to action, urging those who hear it to honor the cycle of life and death. While modern interpretations may have shifted the Banshee's role into that of a more malevolent figure, her true folklore legacy lies in her role as a spiritual guide, a keener, and a harbinger of inevitable change. In the quiet, darkened nights of Ireland's hills and valleys, the Banshee's cry still echoes, a haunting reminder of the deep and eternal ties between the living and the dead. And there you have it, the truth behind the Banshee, the woman who mourns with a wail. Whether as a harbinger of doom or a sorrowful spirit, her legend remains etched in Irish folklore. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive mythology here at Deadscape Diaries. If you enjoyed this journey into the eerie and unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more terrifying tales from the depths of myth. Until next time, remember, in the world of the supernatural, nothing is ever truly gone, it's just waiting.